Isabella I of Jerusalem lost her first husband through politics, her second to assassination, her third through a window, and her fourth to fish. One queen, four marriages, four radically different endings. Isabella inherited a contested Crusader kingdom in the early 1190s after her half-sister Sibylla died. She had little political ambition, yet the throne made each marriage a state decision. Her first husband, Humphrey IV of Toron, recognized Sibylla and Guy instead of challenging them. In 1190, Isabella's mother and stepfather forced their separation. Isabella then married Conrad of Montferrat and claimed the throne against Guy. Conrad became king but was assassinated shortly afterward. The nobles chose Henry II of Champagne, whom Isabella married quickly. In 1197, Henry died accidentally after falling through a palace window. Isabella then married Aimery of Lusignan. Aimery died in 1205 with his death remembered as involving fish. The exact circumstance is not established in the surviving account. Isabella died a few months later and the crown passed to her daughter Maria of Montferrat. At a 1,700-year-old Roman desert fort, archaeologists recreated long-distance signaling with smoke, mirrors, and torches between distant outposts. Qasr Bishur stands in present-day Jordan about 80 kilometers south of Amman. It belonged to the Limes Arabicus, a chain of forts and watchtowers along Rome's eastern desert frontier. The network also helped control routes, trade, and access to water. In the 1980s, the Central Limes Arabicus project tested communication between Qasr Bishur and Qasr Abu el-Karak. The fort stood about 15 kilometers northeast of Bethoris, a legionary camp now called Legion. Researchers used smoke by day, then mirrors and torches for reflective or flame-based signals under suitable conditions. The three methods gave archaeologists a practical comparison of how messages might travel between frontier outposts. This reconstructed experiment did not prove every Roman message arrived reliably. Qasr Bishur remains a nearly square, four-towered fort with a 1,700-year-old Latin inscription above its entrance. Its inscription dates construction to between 293 and 305 AD. A Canadian farmer and trapper who could not swim saved 17 people across 5 incidents, earning the name Angel of Long Point. Abigail Becker lived with her family on isolated Long Point, where violent autumn storms regularly drove vessels onto Lake Erie's dangerous shore. Her trapping work kept the household supplied in a place far from ordinary help. The isolated settlement offered little outside assistance. In 1854, the schooner Conductor grounded about 200 meters offshore, leaving its crew overnight in frozen rigging. Becker built a beach fire, shouted toward them, then waded shoulder-deep into the icy lake. She repeatedly entered the surf, guiding weakened sailors toward warmth while the undertow pulled some back. For the last sailor, she and recovering crew built a makeshift raft from wreckage and reached the rigging. That rescue became one of 5 incidents credited with saving 17 people, including 2 well rescues from her childhood. Honors followed from Canada, Britain, and beyond, but Becker said she had done what anyone would do. Britain blocked public cinema showings of an anti-Nazi film after its makers refused to remove one censored scene. Calling Mr. Smith was a 10 or 11-minute film made in 1943 by Franziska and Stefan Themerson, in association with the Film Bureau of Poland's government in exile in London. The film cut war photographs and newsreels together with animation, photomontage, double exposure, and bursts of colored light. Classical music by Bach, Chopin, and Szymanowski played beside a distorted German anthem. British censors demanded removal of a scene showing a hanged woman. The Themersons refused and public cinema exhibition became impossible. Because the filmmakers would not alter that image, the film had no public cinema release in Britain. Yet contemporary British critics received it strongly in London film circles at the time. Its use of assembled existing footage also made it an early example of found footage filmmaking. Its anti-Nazi message reached London film circles but not the broad public cinema audience the filmmakers had addressed during wartime Britain. Most of Lyttelton Jail was demolished with explosives, yet its surviving walls preserve one of New Zealand's earliest major uses of concrete. Construction began in 1851 and the buildings were largely complete by 1861. It was Canterbury's first jail. Its rules and regulations appeared in 1857. Its main building was faced with stone. The barrier combined stone masonry and solid concrete about 2 feet thick or 0.61 meters. Broken glass and metal spikes lined its top. The walls resisted ordinary dismantling. The jail emptied in 1921. Demolition still required prisoners from Paparua to dismantle it, and explosives blasted apart much of the structure. Broken concrete then became road metal and port reclamation. By the end of 1922, the difficult work was underway. High concrete walls remained at the rear and one side. Those surviving sections now provide archaeological evidence for one of New Zealand's earliest uses of concrete beyond the prison's original function. Some Aboriginal Australians interpreted their first encounters with herds of water buffalo not as ordinary livestock, but as a manifestation of their dreaming. Water buffalo originated in the Indian subcontinent and Southeast Asia. They were later brought to Australia, where escaped animals formed feral herds in the north. By the late 19th century, a large feral population had become established in northern Australia. These were not small, familiar-looking cattle. Water buffalo are large bovines with broad bodies, curved horns, and a strong dependence on water or mud wallows for cooling. The swamp type, associated with Southeast Asia, was especially suited to wet environments. They could also coat themselves in thick mud while wallowing. For observers encountering such herds for the first time, the animal's scale, horns, and watery habits marked a powerful difference. One documented account describes that difference being interpreted through the dreaming as a new manifestation, rather than a routine category of livestock. The account links meaning to the animal's arrival in a wet northern landscape. Indigenous Australian art depicting the buffalo was rediscovered in a cave at Jang near Gunbalanya in 1979. At 17, Ed McCann rejected electrical and mechanical engineering after hearing examples involving missile guidance and tank propulsion. He chose civil engineering instead. The decision began at a careers fair when McCann was 17 with 3 engineering stalls. He encountered electrical, mechanical, and civil engineering side by side, each presenter using real-world examples to explain the branch. Electrical engineering was illustrated with missile guidance, while mechanical engineering was linked to tank propulsion. Civil engineering offered roads, railways, and water supplies, projects McCann was willing to pursue. He then studied civil engineering at Imperial College London from 1986 to 1989. His early professional direction followed that choice, moving into hydraulic engineering and flood defense schemes where water management became the practical focus. The work concerned infrastructure people use. That path later reached Heathrow Terminal 5, the Infinity Bridge, the Lee Valley Velo Park Velodrome, and High Speed 2. These projects span an airport, a bridge, a cycling venue, and a national railway, far removed from the examples that first turned him away. At roughly -3 degrees Fahrenheit wind chill near -24, the Giants and Packers battled through overtime. New York then won on a field goal. On January 20, 2008, New York met Green Bay at Lambeau Field. They were playing for the NFC title with a Super Bowl berth at stake. The Packers opened the scoring with a 90-yard touchdown pass. New York answered through a running attack that produced 114 rushing yards compared with Green Bay's 28. The lead changed hands repeatedly, keeping the game within reach. New York missed 2 field goals. One was a 36-yard attempt as regulation expired, leaving the score tied 20-20. That miss forced overtime where one possession could decide the championship. Green Bay won the overtime toss and received first. On the second play, Brett Favre's pass was intercepted by Corey Webster. New York gained only 5 yards. Lawrence Tynes then made the 47-yard field goal. The 23-20 victory sent the Giants to Super Bowl XLII that night.